Hello, good evening. Welcome to the FB4 Daily. This show is brought to you by Paddy Power. A book is a website and an app. If you gamble, please do so responsibly. And if you do, please do with Paddy Power. So tonight, I'm joined by a familiar face to some. I'm joined by Alex from the Cop TV. Alex, how are you?
Yes, very well, Chris. Pleasure to be here. I'm kind of live reporting to you a little bit for the last 10 minutes or so during this game. So I'm on standby whenever you need me.
No worries. He's keeping us up to date on the match there. We're joined by Anthony Pine as well. Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. Good to be here. How are you?
Great to have you. I'm good. A familiar face to everyone at this stage. But if you want to give them a bit of an introduction to your background, and that'd be a nice start.
Yeah, well, I'm a journalist by trade. I work with RTE and involved in a Liverpool podcast called Dreams and Songs to Sing as well, just with a good friend of mine, Tony Hall. We he's been living in abroad for the last number of years, and me and Tony were just spending our time sending each other WhatsApp VNs about Liverpool, and then eventually decided that to turn it into a podcast for a bit of fun. So yeah, it's great to be with you lads and chat about the Reds, and finally back up and running as well, which is great.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's been a long time and it's been a bit surreal. It's nearly like a kid at Christmas, hasn't it? The lead up to today's games. You've been, excited. Sheffield United and Aston Villa usually wouldn't get a second look, but I think all eyes were on it to see how it went. Did you watch the game today, lads, and how did you find it? Anthony?
Yeah, no, we did, of course. I mean, I was like everybody, just the thought of football getting back and maybe getting some degree of normality, but it sort of hits you then early on when you're watching these games that it's just not going to be the same. I mean, whatever you think about it, I don't think there's much point in sort of complaining about it, or it just is what it is, and it's going to take a bit of adjusting for everybody, for players, for fans, for the media as well, I guess. It was a little odd. To be honest, Keith, I thought it was a little bit of an anti-climax just in terms of the two games. For a few reasons, they probably lacked the kind of intensity that you'd associate with. That game tonight, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, that was a huge game for both teams. Yeah. Sheffield can get top four still, and Villa are obviously fighting relegation, but it didn't really have that intensity that you'd normally get, pre-COVID. I think that will just come in the next few weeks as the players get the rust out of their legs. So yeah, it is. It's still great to have football back, but this is a new world we're in now, isn't it? So it's a little strange.
Well, this is it. It's going to take a bit of getting used to. I think everybody. It's not going to be what we're used to, but as Barry said in the chat there, it's like Christmas Day. He's been waiting for it to come along. Alex, what about yourself? How's that match going?
Yeah, the play's just resumed now. I think it was Garcia that went off. I'm still not 100% sure. I think they've used all 5 subs, so they weren't actually allowed to bring on a 6th. So I think it's just 10v10 for the last probably 7 minutes of injury time, I'm assuming. But not much to report here, Keith. Back to you in the studio.
Good stuff. Anthony, back to you, but you touched on something there about the intensity of the games, and do you think, have you watched much of the Bundesliga matches or the La Liga games? Do you think the intensity is something that maybe the players are just finding it a bit unusual going out? Because it does nearly look like training games. Certainly the game on now, when I was watching that, there was very little intensity in that. And while I thought the earlier game was a little bit better, I agree it wasn't, it didn't look like a team that was each fighting for something important. Do you think it's something that can walk into it, or do you think there's just so much maybe nervousness about getting the games back that they're just easing themselves into it?
I don't know if they're easing themselves into it. I think it will improve in terms of intensity and the fitness of the players. I did watch the Bundesliga and a little bit of the La Liga games. The Bundesliga, was like that. When it first came back, it was kind of pedestrian.
Oh, 3-0. Sorry.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Thought we were getting some good news.
Yeah, so did I.
Sake. Don't be cheering like that, Alex.
11 minutes of the time, lads. Just coming
11 minutes. Also, there's time. Lovely.
Yeah,
this is going to be a big one.
But it's got better. You know, it's like the players are gonna have to adjust to this, as I said, Keith. Like they're gonna, although they're elite athletes, and you know, a lot of them are coming back, and they actually physically look in amazing shape because they're probably at home just pounding the gym. But it's playing games of football is a different type of sharpness and fitness, especially at the highest level. You know, you're talking about a percentage here and there can make a difference. So, I think, you know, it's just gonna be a little bit off in terms of that for the first few weeks. But I'd expect that when the novelty of the whole thing fades, and then the reality of these games kicks in, the importance of these games kicks in, because these guys are playing for, you know, like at the bottom here in terms of relegation. Now they're actually, the stakes are kind of getting higher because they're playing for their futures. You know, with less money now in the game and with the uncertainty around it, like these games are going to come ultra important. Top four is the same. So I think it will get better, but I think the first few games are going to be, as you say there, sort of have a feel of training matches a little bit.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Anthony there. I think the intensity has been hugely lacking in both games I've seen today. The first one, I mean, Grealish just looked like he was walking. I mean, I know he walks around quite a lot anyway, but I think maybe it's an optical illusion when you're watching it, but I think the noise of the fans genuinely makes them all run faster. And without that, there's just less. Like, no one's really breaking their legs to get in the box or, you know, going for a last-ditch tackle. Everyone's quite comfortable. The first game we saw that. I mean, how Sheffield United didn't win that game 1-0, by the way, is an absolute travesty.
Yeah, that's something I want to come on to. We might as well go there now, like, for anyone that hasn't seen it. Are we putting it down to, again, maybe a bit of nervousness, or that they were prepared too much on one thing and the most basic?
Well,
what did he not turn the watch on or something?
Yeah, they said, the ref said, was it Dean? What was his name? Michael, what was his name?
Michael Oliver.
That was.
Yeah.
So in half time, apparently his watch went off and shouted goal at him. Yeah. And he was like, oh, it's a bit late for that. They said it was blocked by the keeper and the post blocked it or something. You'd like to think that they turned everything on and made sure that something like that wouldn't happen, especially in a game like this, before at a crucial point. It's embarrassing. That is an absolute joke and a fucking disgrace, to be honest.
And why did VAR not intervene? That's a sort of question.
Apparently, the linesman saw that the ball was over the line, but he didn't want to flag it because he just assumed that the technology is watertight with goal line. Usually it's water. So he was probably thinking, he was kind of doubting himself.
It's not all over the line. Yeah, there's probably 11 millimeters or something.
Wrong. Yeah, it was just a freak. Alex pointed out there, like, because of the way he was holding it against the post, maybe it distorted it. It was just a freak thing that it distorted it. Or maybe the microchip wasn't in the ball or something.
Yeah, maybe it was just a glitch in the matrix or something.
Yeah. I'd say it was something simple like that they didn't have the right equipment in the ball or something along them lines, because it was just so obvious. All the players knew it, and why it didn't go to the VAR. The problem I have with VAR in some of these instances is depending on the referee. Michael Oliver, I think, is the best referee in the Premier League. He's not the most senior referee, but I think he's the best. And I think he's, if he's saying it didn't go in, I don't think his assistants or the VAR people will want to overrule him. And I think there might have been an element of that, because there's just two, like, if I was a Sheffield United player or Chris Wilder, I would have been going mad at that, because as you said earlier, Anthony, you're looking at a team that's going for a Champions League place in the first time up, with a team that's come up the divisions over the last few years with mainly a British and Irish based team. I think the only two non-British and Irish players in their 20 or whatever it was, 19 today. So, you know, they're a unique team, Sheffield United, and they were very hard done by today. And it was just one of them. Maybe if there was fans in the stadium, there would have been more of a reaction as well. Maybe that's playing into it.
4-0. Oh no, he's missed.
Oh, Alex, Alex, only update us if it's an Arsenal comeback, will it? For God's sake.
Yeah, for God's sake. I just
But
them about for fun. Sorry.
yeah, he's pinging them about, and that's, I suppose, part of the thing, isn't it? Like, you're going to see these guys in the Bundesliga. There was the games that came back. You had fullbacks marauding up, doing tricks. You had centre backs doing drag backs and all that. And today we had David Luiz. We'll move on to him in a few minutes. But with the Sheffield United games, did you watch it with the sound effects on or off?
Oh yeah, this is a really interesting one. This is split people, I think, down the middle. I put the sound on. I was dead against that at the start, but then I kind of got used to it, and I just kind of like that. Actually, I think they do a reasonably good job. It's kind of surreal, but I'm one that has it off now. I know there's other people. Maybe the room is split here. I don't know what you lads think, but everybody seems to be 50-50 split down the middle. What they think about it.
I watched it without the sound, and I couldn't watch it. I put the sound effects on and thought they were great, and then I'd go back every so often just to compare it, and I found it a bit soulless. And that, I know that's the players must have felt that on the pitch.
Yeah.
Alex, what about yourself? How did you put the sound effects on or off?
You know what? It's funny because my missus was sitting next to me whilst the game was on, and normally she just doesn't like the noise that the fans make on TV because it's loud and it's, kind of disruptive. If she's in the room, normally I'm at the match, but to actually not be going to the games and be watching from home now, it's different. So she didn't even realise the game was on because it was that quiet. So I can definitely get away with watching more now when she's around. But yeah, I watched it without the sound. Yeah, I mean, it was so less you think what the players are going through to play in a stadium like that. When there's about 20 journalists in there and a few medical staff, and it is so less. Arsenal, just wide, almost 3-1. But yeah, it's mad. I just hope when it comes round to the Merseyside derby on Sunday, just with it being the Merseyside derby, I do hope there's a little bit more noise from within instead of the automated stuff.
Yeah. I think it's one of them that some people, as Anthony touched on, some people are going to like the sound effects and some people aren't. I firmly prefer it, and I think, if we didn't have them, we'd be looking at a totally different product altogether. We spoke about the technology letting down. Sorry, hold on, lads. I'm just going to drop out and come back in. Hold on.
I think it might be Anthony's speaker.
Is there a problem with the sound?
I think that's just because I can hear myself when I think in your speaker. Bit of feedback on it. A couple of technical issues here, guys. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, I think that might have worked.
That's probably it.
There you go.
That was it.
There you go. Headphones.
Sorry about that. Bit of feedback. But look, it is what it is. It's the technology again. We've only spoke about it with regards to the football.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been, like I said, it's interesting. We've all been excited for this football to come back, and it has been a bit of a damn squib. No matter what way we look at it. The game earlier on, as we said, there was a lot to ride for on both teams, and none of them really went for the jugular on it. And then the game tonight, from what I was watching, it was just like a training game. Yeah. Arsenal, I'd love to talk about Arsenal for an hour because they're absolutely infuriating. They're one of the worst big teams.
Well, the stat just came up there. Away games against the top six since 2015. They've played 25 and won 0. 15 losses, 10 draws. So, I mean, that's a big culture shift that needs to happen there. And I'm like you, Keith. Like, I live around in North London. There's a lot of Arsenal fans, and I do get infuriated with them as a Liverpool fan, just because you just see I mean, tonight it's an absolute joke, Keith. It's an absolute joke.
We'll talk briefly about them as well. Is Arteta the right man there, do you think, lads? Or like Anthony, I'll go to you. Is it a job, maybe a big job too soon for him, or do you think he has what it takes to do something there with the players at his disposal?
To be honest, I don't know. I just don't know, because he's a novice in terms of his managerial experience. He's a very, very highly rated coach. And I think what you can tell about Arteta in the early days when he took over Arsenal, like, he does have a good presence about him. He's a young manager with something to prove, and maybe in the long term that could be what Arsenal need. But for whoever took that job, that's just a huge job. There's a cultural thing within the club that's been sort of infested there for a good number of years.
15 years.
Like that record against the top six, did Alex say it goes back to 2016?
2015.
2015, like, that is absolutely shocking for a club like Arsenal. That is just terrible. And you're looking at, like, if you think Arsenal over the last 10 years, and there's been a lot of different players have come in and out of Arsenal. Obviously, Wenger is gone now, but they've more or less stayed the same as a team in the last decade. So it's got to be something that's deeper than just the actual playing clientele, or it's something that's like within the club. It's like a culture that's within the club. So it's a massive job for him. I like him. I think he's had a good education under Guardiola, so he's probably going to bring in a lot of those ideals and find a way of playing. And it will be a more modern approach, you'd imagine, a bit more sophisticated than what came before in terms of their work off the ball and their shape without the ball and their work rate and things like that. But listen, if you have a David Luiz in your team, like, you actually can't account for that. Like, no matter what you do on the training pitch, you can't account for him coming off the bench and within 25 minutes getting sent off and giving up a stupid goal, losing the game, because that's just an individual. The only way to deal with that is that you get him out of the club as soon as possible and you bring in a considerable upgrade. So that's why, he's going to need a couple of windows, kind of like, say, Solskjaer. You can judge him after that on the players that he brings in. I think he will improve them, but in terms of actually getting back to challenging for leagues and making a better fist of the Champions League, kind of feels like they're a long way off. And there's teams that are skating ahead of them now.
And he's probably taken the job at the wrong time as well, to be, you'd nearly want someone else to do a lot of the donkey work for you and then go in. Alex, what do you think? Do you think he can turn it around, or is it too big a job? Because I agree with what Anthony said there. I think there's a huge culture thing there from the very top and into the fans. It's a mad team.
He actually lives on the same road, about 10 houses up as the place I'm at now, my girlfriend's place. So I won't be too loud because I seen him walk past me the other day.
Lovely fella, I'm sure.
Yeah. But do you know what? I was on AFTV a few weeks back with Robbie, and he asked the question, how does someone like Arteta recreate the Liverpool blueprint that Liverpool have laid down with Klopp? And I said, I said what I said, I said how, the transfer recruitment's been excellent, how he's got the Holy Trinity. And I said all this stuff. And then I was like, and you can get all that with Arteta if you give him time, but you're only going to give him time if you truly believe he's the one. We always did with Klopp. We always knew the perfect synergy between the stars just aligned, and Klopp met Liverpool. Liverpool met Klopp at the right time. Amazing. With Arsenal, I just fear no managerial experience. Yes, he's learned from Guardiola, but Steve McLaren did that at United, and he's a Wally with a brolly. So it's it's a tough one, because I do think the promise is there. I just don't know if he's going to get at least 3 years to build his foundation like Klopp did.
Yeah, the fans are very short.
But what Anthony said there is absolutely spot on. I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of Arsenal fans. The good feeling around that club died in, I'd say, 2006 when they lose that Champions League final. And since then, there's been this rancid kind of stale culture that's kind of infested Arsenal, and it's kind of overtaken the Arsenal, what everyone knew it to be. And since then, man, like from above the board, they've just like it's just not been the same Arsenal as you know the great years gone by.
That's it. Someone stuck an old sardine down the back of one of the sofas there in the Emirates, and they can't get rid of the smell, no matter how hard they try. It's
putting a dead ferret next to the bloody exhaust pipe, and you don't realise for 4 months.
Chris has thrown in there to the chat, lads, before we go on, that he takes Saka from Arsenal as left back cover for Robertson. Does anyone agree with that, or do you think it's a realistic shout, or I think they'd be hard pressed to give that young fella up?
Yeah, they wouldn't give him to us. And if I was Saka, I wouldn't want to come to us to sit on the bench, because let's face it, Robertson's playing every game, and Saka's at a stage in his career now where he needs. Well, he's young, so he wants to be playing as much as possible, and can't see him getting that at Liverpool. Nice idea.
Probably figured about 20 odd times this season in the Arsenal force team to go and probably get 6 games at Liverpool. Anthony, you can't really see that happening, can you?
No, I'd echo what Alex said there. Like, I mean, he's a fantastic young player. He looks a real quality player, but this is a problem for Liverpool. Like, how do you get? On one hand, like, you want to get a bit of competition and a backup for Andy Robertson, but I mean, to get a real high level player, where if you were going to shell out a lot of money, like, are they going to come knowing that they're not guaranteed to start? And then, like, to get someone who's willing to play backup, it's hard. It's a hard balance for Liverpool to get right. I think they might have got a gem in Nico Williams for right back. You know, an academy. He's the perfect backup. He'll kind of learn his trade under Alexander Arnold. So it is actually something that has to be looked at, the other flank, but it's not realistic that you're going to take that chap from Arsenal right there.
But I think he's out of contract, so I think that was the whole thing. You can he's in the last year or something, so you could try and snag him on a pre-contract. But it's a great point you make there, Anthony, because you know you mentioned Nico Williams, and Nico Williams is a great young talent. But to me, Keanu Hoover's an even better young talent, and we've got 2 of them at right back. Yeah. And we could have done with one of them being left back. Now, Yasser Larouci is in there, and maybe he's the answer. Anytime I've seen him, he's looked good, but a bit rash, a bit raw. So maybe needs to be polished a bit. But
he's only about 5'6", Larouci, isn't he? He's very small.
But you can really get away with that. Sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I saw Hoover play in Tala about a year ago in the under-17 European Championships for Holland. Holland played Italy in the final, and we went down and watched it. And it's, I'll tell you, like, I mean, that age, these guys were 16, 17, and they were men, like physically. And he's a very physical looking chap as well. But he looks like a real such a good player. He could be good enough to kind of play anywhere along that back four,
Well, that's it. David Walsh has just thrown in the chat there about whoever will become a centre back. The only worry I'd have is maybe he's a little short, but there's been short centre-backs that have been excellent. Cannavaro and the likes come to mind. Carragher, I mean, there have been a few of them. Something I heard as well last season was they were so impressed in the pre-season that they were going to look at him. He could play, as you touched on there, and he can play anywhere across the back four, and he was going to be looked at as a left-back replacement. Now, I think his season was interrupted because he went off to Brazil to the under-17 World Cup, I think it was, with the Netherlands. And Nico Williams and all was breaking through then. So he might have just got pulled back a bit into the pack, you know what I mean? But I think he's definitely one to watch. But it's a big problem all over the pitch for Liverpool, because how do you buy for a team where the 11 is so settled? Even if you're a midfield player, are you going to want to go to Liverpool and you've got Fabinho? I know, the age will come into it. You have Fabinho, Henderson and Wijnaldum in the 3 positions, but you've also got Milner there, you've got Naby Keita sniffing around, you've Curtis Jones as a young player coming through, those
Grujic as well.
Yeah, Grujic could end up coming back. He's not going to get a move away. So there's a lot of games, there's a lot of players in the way in midfield, and the same up front. And this maybe played into the Timo Werner non-transfer. How do you justify the whole package for Timo Werner, which would have been into the hundreds of millions, for a player that's not going to be in the first 11? And as much as we might not like that, it's FSG's business model at the end of the day. They're not going to shell out for players if they can get cheaper alternatives that they can make into superstars, and that's just the way that's going to be. But Arsenal are taking a bit of a hammering in the chats. And lads, if you're in the chat, throw in any random questions and we'll see if we can get them.
I love the random questions, Anthony. This is actually the reason why I come on this podcast. It's the random questions. Like, yeah, you'll enjoy.
Throw them in, lads. Throw them in, and we'll get through them as we go. Because, like I said, the games tonight, we were hoping that we'd be talking about an Arsenal victory tonight and setting up the Merseyside derby. But the flying pigs and all were out before that was going to happen. It's never going to be the case when we sit down and think about it. Back to that game quickly, lads. David Luiz, he is an absolute liability, isn't he? If I was Matthias Guendouzi, I'd be shaving my head just so I didn't look like the fella, because he is an absolute clown. And Gary Neville just had the knives out. He was waiting, and Martin Tyler set him up a little cushioned header to him to absolutely tear it into him. But the fella, in one game, he looks like a world beater, and then 10 games, he's just an absolute pudding. Like, how do you justify for having a player like that in your team,
Neville, actually, I think it was like 2013 or something, he said of Luiz when he was playing for Chelsea, he's like, oh, this fella looks like he's playing a PlayStation game, or he's being controlled by someone who's on. Like, he is a clown, first and foremost. He's a clown. But his positional awareness, I mean, the ball is going to skid about. It's raining a lot in Manchester tonight, right? So the ball comes into him at hip height, and he goes like to try and side hip hit for some reason. Realizes he's made a huge mistake when Arsenal actually quite on the press at that point. Lose a goal, 1-0. Second goal, I mean, that's just an absolute rugby tackle. Like, and then to go like that, them ones when he drags him out. What? I didn't do that. That's desperation. When you see a defender doing that after it's evident what he's just done.
We've seen that against. We've seen it against us, didn't we? When Salah skinned them as well at the start of the season. Like, he's brutal.
The thing is, like, you gotta remind yourself that this lad has won Premier Leagues. I mean, he has played at elite level for a long time. So, like, there's something about him that kind of lures clubs into paying massive money, huge money for him. And the reason they do it is because he actually has, in terms of technical raw ability, he's a very, very talented footballer. His problem is self-discipline, awareness, positional sense,
concentration,
and concentration. And actually, as he's getting older, usually the defenders or players mature. These are kind of raw things that you associate with young defenders who are learning the game. He's getting worse as he gets older. So it's almost like he's kind of checking out. Or there was footage of him playing, was against Brentford.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah, I was just about to bring it up.
A major red flag, because his attitude, his application. This is a professional footballer. So, okay, it was a friendly, but you're preparing yourself for Man City. You're preparing yourself to come back into the Premier League. He didn't look bothered,
Trying to flip all overhead.
And so what happens? He comes on tonight. He's half-baked. He's undercooked. He looks way off the pace. Gone after 25 minutes.
Shawnee Lawson's thrown in another left-back suggestion there, Ryan Bertrand. And I know Gav is a big fan as well of Bertrand. Could you think someone like that, maybe that bit more experienced player, might be someone to come in? I know Robbo looks like he could do with a rest at times, but it's going to be a tricky one to replace. Just to get the understudy for him. So maybe a Bertrand could be an option. Who knows?
I like that idea. He's probably the wrong side of 30 now. Played in the Champions League final 2012. I actually remember him having a decent game whenever he plays at Liverpool at Anfield.
Yeah, he's a good solid player. He's a solid enough boy.
I mean, what is he, 31, 32? Do you reckon?
He must be over, he must be around that.
So I reckon, take.
You're not going to be breaking the back, or breaking the bank for him as well. So
this is it. I mean, and Liverpool are going to have to be creative with their funds now. Even more so. So you might actually see them take not gambles, but be a little bit more. Well, gambles, I suppose, the only really way to say it, like more so than they would have before, because they got to tighten the purse strings.
Is that something that you actually think is happening with the tightening of the purse strings, or do you think if a top target was to become available that they would push ahead for them? Because my opinion on it is that, they are going to tighten the purse strings after the whole furlough in the staff and, the COVID-19 situation that happened. They're down revenue, but they can't be down that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be down substantially, but not enough that you're going to think that there can't be transfer business done. You know, we're on the back of so much success and success to come that there has to be money there now. I think they're just reluctant to spend it and to be seen to spend it in this summer unless someone big comes. So I agree, it might just be a case of smart signings, clever. I say all the time, you know, we brought in Minamino for 7.25 million from Salzburg, and he hasn't done it yet. But I think he's going to be a big player for us. I think he could shine in the last few games of this season, you know, and sort of get into the team. And I think he could be a great player. And I think that could be the profile of player that we'll go for in future. I've mentioned other players off Salzburg previously, you know, Dominic Szoboszlai, Hwang up front. You know, these are really good players that you'll get in. And while the transfer fee won't be through the roof, the wages are very low as well. And that's what FSG want to do, isn't it? That's the Moneyball principle. You get them in, you improve them, and then you can sell them on. And I think people, when we see Kai Havertz getting linked and Kylian Mbappe and Jadon Sancho, it probably is pie in the sky. You know, it's probably the not going to happen. Or, you know, 50 million for Werner looks like a good deal, but when you put the whole package together and there's no African Cup of Nations, it probably wasn't the right time. What do you think, Anthony? What do you think about the transfer dealings of Liverpool for this year? Is it going to be a bleak summer?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Everything you just said there, Keith. Like I think they have now in their own heads are probably thinking, well, we've nailed this now in the last, since Klopp came in, it all came together, and they should have some credit in the bank, you know, with Liverpool fans, European champions and Premier League champions elect. In all fairness, and I think it was said a while ago that I can't remember who said it, but that Liverpool they're not looking for Mbappe, they're looking for the next Mbappe. They're looking for the kid that nobody else has really heard about yet. And I would expect Liverpool, rather than, well, we know they're not going to get Werner, but rather than splurge a 50, 60, 70 million pound signing, that they're going to try and be, they're basically going to be try to be even better at unearthing players across the continent. They got a very, very sophisticated network now in terms of finding players. As you said, they brought in Minamino. You know, we haven't really seen him yet. They've got Harvey Elliott, who looks like one of the best teenagers or best players at his age in the world, or in Europe, certainly. I mean, there's huge hopes for him. There's Curtis Jones. It could be that together, Klopp and the owners and the whole backroom staff are getting together and saying, well, if we got enough to maintain our level, what we already have, and they might back themselves and think that, yeah, we probably do. I think they will bring somebody in, but I don't think Liverpool, I'd be very surprised. Like, I would expect them to maybe spend 20, 30 million this summer. And
basing that on a lot of outgoings as well, more so than, you know, anything else. Maverick sort of echoes that it's all about developing Curtis and Elia. And, you know, I think something Klopp touched on when he first came in was about how, you know, he'd rather bring players through than constantly be signing. And I think we as fans lose track of that, because everybody loves the shiny, big new transfer signing. You know, there's fans of Liverpool that would genuinely rather we signed players for 60, 70 million than win the league, because the abuse that they give the owners for not splurging doesn't tie in with the fact that we're in our most successful period in 30 years, you know, but in all our lifetime. So it's a hard one to fathom. Before we want, Tom Jacobson in Helsingborg, Sweden, a big hello to you too, Tom. Thanks for joining us. For anyone that's joining us online, lads, if you are watching on Periscope, we've been having a few issues with Periscope lately. Not issues as such, but sometimes the sound doesn't sort of tally up and things like that. So if you can, switch over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, get all the notifications and all the likes, and going forward then you shouldn't miss any of the show. So Tom, if you're only new to us in Sweden, hit that like and subscribe button, and you'll be sick of us in about 2 weeks. So yeah, back to the chat now, lads. The matches tonight, they were a bit of a letdown, right? No doubting about it, and it probably is sucking away from the enjoyment of looking forward. But the next few days, so there's no game on tomorrow, and Friday night then, in theory, we've a decent game. We've Norwich and Southampton, but then that's followed with Spurs and United. Are we expecting much more of the same as we got today? Or
well, there is also football tomorrow night. You've got Real Madrid, Valencia in La Liga.
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch that. But yeah, I mean, the Norwich Southampton game, Do you know what, Norwich, to be fair, I mean, I was at the first game of the season at Anfield, and we should have been 2-0 down within about 25 minutes of that game. Norwich opened us up, and I don't know how we didn't concede, to be honest. We ended up winning the game 4-1, I think. So, yeah, Norwich can be entertaining. They've got a lot to play for. Southampton, a bit dry, but the one we're all looking forward to is Spurs United. That would be a class game. I think that's the first game back that actually really, in terms of the top four race, the one that really means something. Although there's no fans, if there's a game that means more and there's more up to win, then you might hear a bit more noise coming out of the sidelines.
Yeah, there's been a bit of noise coming from Mourinho towards Solskjaer, little snips here and there, but
he's so childish, isn't he? Such a
He used to be box office, but not anymore.
Yeah,
so
it's pathetic now.
But yeah, the matches, Anthony, how do you feel? That anything interesting coming up that you can see in the next few days, or is it all geared towards the Merseyside derby for you?
To be honest, it is, Keith. I mean, I'd like most of us, you sort of, you pin your week ground around the Liverpool games, and they've been so badly missed. And I think, and in fairness, we're two wins from winning the Premier League, so there's huge excitement about that, and that's going to be a big event for all of us. But no, I think two good games on Friday evening. I like Norwich, actually.
Yeah,
I thought they started the season really well, and it's funny, you don't know how teams are going to react coming out of this lockdown and playing in this environment. I think it was Ben Foster. Who said it? I think it was Ben Foster said it, that he made the point that there are some players who find it really difficult to play in front of big crowds of 40,000 when things aren't going well. So those teams at the bottom, where there's a lack of confidence and you're playing and your own fans are getting on your back, and it can be a vicious cycle. You don't have that now. You're now playing in a sterile environment. Norwich are coming into they're getting the chance to play in the summer months again, where the ground, that they seem to go way off the boil over the winter months. So they might just come out fresh, and it might actually suit them. I think they're probably still going to go down, but I have to say I'd love to watch them, and I'd like them. They're just one of those teams that'd be hard not to like. So I like the way they approach the game and how they play. I like the manager as well. And United. You kind of always take an interest in United, don't you? You keep an eye on how they're doing, and I actually think they were shown signs of becoming a decent team again. I think they have a lot of good players, and it's going to be interesting how they start to bed Bruno Fernandes and Pogba, how that's going to work. That could be a good game. I think they'll beat Spurs. Actually, I think they'll win that game.
Yeah.
It's something I've said all along as well. Is I think this, without the fans, and it'll suit the technically better teams, So we saw tonight, Man City are light years ahead of Arsenal and will win the game. The likes of Norwich are bottom of the league, right? And I agree with what you've both said. I like Norwich, and I like Daniel Farke, and I like the way they try to play ball. And a little break anything can happen, I think, in this this run in now. Games are going to come thick and fast. You could see teams that'll just start dropping like a stone, and maybe Norwich can get in.
Sorry to cut you up there, Keith. You've got to feel sorry for the teams that have gone down automatically and who haven't had a chance to do what you just said, Keith, which is have a potential time where everyone the stars align again and they do a magical escape, a la West Brom in 04-05. So that's why I'd be super pissed off if my team went down without, putting the ball on the ground.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very good point. Danny Emery threw in there apparently Vladimir Smitha used to throw up before every game at Anfield because he was so nervous and was grand at away games. The weight of pressure. We've seen players that have signed for Liverpool. I mean, the one that jumps out to me all the time, and it's an easy hit, is Stuart Downing. Stuart Downing just didn't have the minerals to play for Liverpool at all, and he just looked like he was terrified. And I suppose you can always go back to his first game. I think he cracked one against the post, and if that goes in, you're probably looking at a different career maybe for him, because his chest is out and his head is up. But he just looked like he was terrified playing for Liverpool, and you see it with other clubs as well. It's not just Liverpool. The Man United. jersey ways an awful lot as well, and they're going through a similar thing that we've gone through, where they're trying to throw everything at getting that next fix, and the more they do, the further away they seem to be going. Like, I know what Anthony's saying there about them. They look like they're improving, and they were improving, but they had a lot of easy games, let's say, before the break. You know, they a nice run in the Europa League against Astana and I don't know who else, Lask as well, wasn't it? Lax or whatever they are, I don't know what they were called. We had Tranmere in the cup, you know, and that was like 2 days after Tranmere played, or was it 48 hours after Tranmere only won their replay or something. Like, it was a mad sort of setup for them. Not set up for them, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, say that they got any unfair thing, but I think they're good run of form. You know, Bruno Fernandes being in the team of the year, he's only played 5 games. You know, there's a lot of hype there with United, and I will be interested, because I'm very interested in Man United, because they are a huge team like ourselves, and I'll be interested to see what they do next season. You know, how Fernandes sets in, because he looks a really, really good player. Now, I think if you go by the players on the pitch, I think United will beat Spurs as well on Friday night. There's something about Spurs that isn't right. And I don't think crowd is going to matter, you know. I think Mourinho isn't instilling. Maybe the break is what Mourinho needed, because he didn't have a pre-season with him. So maybe, you know, it's a fresh start for them. But from what we saw before the break, they weren't instilling confidence in us at all, you know. So it'll be interesting. The weekend games then, I'll just run quickly through what we have on Saturday. Not that we're really interested. Watford and Leicester, bit of a nothing game there. Brighton and Arsenal, Jesus Christ. West Ham, Wolves, and Bournemouth and Palace. You know, there's no standout games there. You know, there's not even any relegation scraps there. You know, it's
this is the thing now. Because you know, the top's decided. You've got the race for top 4, which only involves really 3 or 4 teams, and then you've probably got one dead cert that's getting relegated, and then maybe 3 or 4 more teams. I mean, that adds up to 8. You've probably got, like you say there, 4 games, which literally don't mean anything to anyone. And you thought it was a training drill tonight. Well, like, wait till you see Bournemouth Palace.
Wolves, I mean, you're talking about Sheffield United there, but Wolves, they do have a sniff of the top 4. And there's a team, actually, that had a pretty hectic schedule just before the break, and that could really benefit, because they got quite a small squad, don't they, as well? And I think they actually have a decent chance of breaking in to that top 4. I like them. Like, the good team. They're building nicely for the last couple of years.
They are.
I like them. Yeah, great.
Very good team, and a good manager as well. Good manager there, Nuno. Chris just threw into the chat about Pedro refusing to play for Chelsea, as he's agreed to move to Roma. I see as well, with the reason I put that up there is Werner apparently is refusing to play for Leipzig now for the rest of the season with the Champions League, and that with the Chelsea move coming up. Has anyone heard anything about that, Anthony? Or
I hadn't got wind of that, actually. No, that's the first I heard about it.
Yeah, apparently he's withdrawn from the squad because he wants to get into Chelsea as soon as possible. Now, I don't know when they can, you know, he signed on the 1st of July, but...
Well, it's weird because they mentioned it in the Arsenal game, and they said they didn't really want to have to bring on David Luiz because he only signed a 1-year deal, and if you were him, you wouldn't want to come on and get injured and potentially ruin your next move. So when they had to bring him on tonight, I mean, and he's obviously got sent off, so he probably won't even play for Arsenal again, to be honest. Yeah. But when he comes on, you think of that. And then also Dani Ceballos was maybe going back to Real Madrid, and now he's had to come on when you probably would have wanted him to stay on the bench, or he would have wanted to stay on the bench to not get injured. So
it's weird when you think of that, yeah.
And what was Chelsea's first leg game? They were well beaten, weren't they?
Bayern, I think. Was it Bayern hopped off them?
Yeah. So like their effect. I mean, they're realistically not going to go through. So if he is,
it's a weird one, all right, because Leipzig are through, aren't they? They beat Spurs, so they're in the next round. And apparently, he's the Champions League's happening in August, isn't it? But he wants to just get to Chelsea as soon as possible. Like, so it's a bit of a weird one, you know. I don't know.
That's the kind of stuff that makes me think, as a Liverpool fan, like maybe we did the right thing by not signing him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, look.
As Graham said, he scored again tonight.
But it is like, I mean, for so long, we used to, the Liverpool's transfer business would just drive you crazy. But it has got to the point where, like, if Liverpool are in for a player now, or when they make a decision like that, because they've been knocking it out of the park for the last few years, you're kind of thinking, maybe they just see something that we don't, or they might know something we don't, because they've excelled for the last few years, and they do have that credit in the bank. So, time will tell. But
Werner scored tonight, to be fair, in a 2-2 draw.
The big ones. But an interesting thing is, he did do an awful lot of yapping in the press, didn't he, about Liverpool.
Yeah.
And if something we've learned is Liverpool try to do it quiet, you know what I mean? They try to, if there's talk, it's probably not going to happen. So in reality, Liverpool probably moved well away from Werner a long time ago, and the talk of Liverpool was just people putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. It'll be interesting to see. I think we might have 1 or 2 up our sleeve. Maybe not big money signings, but something to keep us interested, keep us honest over the summer. Kev O'Sullivan's just put in the chat there about Ryan Fraser also refusing to sign a mini extension for Bournemouth today. And I think this is the little minefield that we're going to be getting into with players. We're quite lucky in the sense that, who's not going to sign an extension with us and miss out on the end of the season. Nathaniel Klein, obviously, he won't get one.
I think this is actually going to sadly result in a lot of players having bad exits from clubs. Ryan Fraser, if this is true and he doesn't want to play for Bournemouth anymore, you think of all the good work he's done in the last 2 or 3 years to force his way out now. It is going to cause a few rifts between players exiting clubs and fans. He might go back there next season and get booed now because he's kind of forced his way out. So. I'd take him though. To be fair, I'd take.
But this is it, Alex. Like, this is a rug pull for a lot of players now, because it's given them a reality check that they have short careers.
Yeah, exactly.
That are actually very fragile. This what's happened in the world in the last couple of months. So I think players are probably going to have to be a bit more ruthless and cutthroat and be particularly selfish in the next few months.
Absolutely.
It's a very good point. Anyone that's listening, again, I said it already on YouTube, smash that like button, share the broadcast, do all that good stuff. We get all that little bit of admin out of the way. But it is going to be interesting for players. They do have to think a bit differently. They have to. It's a short career, and Ryan Fraser, he really is on the cusp of getting himself a big move. Whether that's, people link him with Liverpool, but probably more realistically be an Arsenal or the Spurs probably go for him. But still a huge move for him. That's a huge move. And if he risks an injury, because a lot of players are getting injured, we had the incident tonight in the City game that Alex kept us up to date on. It's a scary time for the player. They don't want to put him into jeopardy.
Xhaka gets stretchered off. Mari gets injured.
Yeah.
And they had Luiz sent off. So, and I'm pretty sure someone else got injured. I can't remember who. But you need depth. I think this summer we're really going to see, and I think this transfer window is going to affect clubs like the top 6 for the next 2 or 3 years. It's a domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah. It certainly is, and that's where we might see, Chris is getting excited here and saying that Jadon Sancho sorted for next season.
Yeah.
It's an ambitious one, but it's that the reasoning behind that is that Man United probably don't have the funds to smash it straight away, so maybe it does open the door in that sense that we probably didn't think was going to happen, and this could be the type of chance to get a Sancho, maybe with others not pushing the button, because Liverpool do anything and it gets magnified by 1,000. And unfortunately, our fan base do it more than anyone else, but all clubs are going to be going through the same thing. There's very few in the world that can take on the hit from this COVID-19 and do business as normal. Chelsea seem to be smashing money left, right, and centre, but they haven't actually spent a penny yet. They're just getting linked with loads of players. But they, I suppose, had money. They've an owner that's got his own sort of issues and all that around money. They're not run maybe the same way. Although I do sort of like how they done their loans and their youth players, and that sort of come to fruition for them. But not many other teams are going to be spending big this summer, I don't think. And I think loans could be a huge one for this summer. It's not a not a sort of a business we tend to do. Can you see us looking at that market at all, Anthony?
Yeah, I'd be like, I think this year, don't forget Chelsea had the transfer ban, which might actually work in their favour, just in the sense that they've got a few quid in the back pocket. What's with us, one of the interesting sort of subplots this year with Liverpool was how well our own young players did. When the way it worked out with the Club World Championship, and we had to play, a youth team, an under-19 team, effectively in the League Cup, and then in the FA Cup against Everton and Shrewsbury. I think that might affect how Liverpool plan longer term, because there was some lads this year who've really emerged as potential first team players for Liverpool, probably particularly Elliott and Curtis Jones. But Liverpool could make money off some of these lads as well, and whether that's like send them out on loan, because I noticed in the last 2 weeks some of them have penned longer term extensions, haven't they?
Hardy Wilson and
gives them a bit more value. And in terms of us bringing in players on loan, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting over the next few weeks, because this is just totally unprecedented, Keith, isn't it? We don't know how everybody's going to react. And as you say, clubs are run differently. We're not run the same as a Man City. We're not run the same as a Chelsea, and we're not run the same as even a Man United. So it's going to be very interesting, but it's going to define next season, or probably the season after that, how well people adjust to it. You just have to hope that Liverpool are smart enough and well run enough to come out of it in good shape, which I think they are. And we're also coming at it from a position of strength as well, which is good.
Excellent. Listen, if anyone has any random questions, I've said it already, throw them in for the last few minutes and we'll get the boys answering a few of them. I know Chris threw one in earlier. Chris, throw it back in again about Snog, Marty and Avoid. They're always good ones. As Shawnee said, the financial effect of COVID isn't known yet, so keeping the powder dry is the sensible thing to do. We thought we were going to have the bumper summers, you know what I mean? But it's all of a sudden, it's now very risky to be signing any big money player, so we just have to hold on and see what the crack will be. Lads, the Merseyside derby Sunday night, how do you see that going?
So I said on a show, on Terry's show actually, that I can't. I mean, sorry, I had Chris on my show. That was it. That's who we were talking about. We haven't actually scored at Goodison Park since that late Mane winner, 16-17. 0-0 in 17-18, 0-0 18-19. And then if you go back before that, we haven't scored many goals there recent times. So having said all that, I do think we're going to win 2 or 3-0. I'm not going to lie. I think Klopp will just not have let them drop the standards. And I think even if he sees that they are dropping it in the first 20 minutes, he's going to be on them. And I genuinely don't think we come away with that with less than a 2-goal kind of advantage win. It's
just because you don't know how everybody's going to react, or what they're going to be like initially. You expect a bit of ring rust, but the key thing is that Liverpool are a better team than Everton. And you're now removing the factor of the crowd. Last season, particularly, that crowd was feral at Goodison.
Yeah.
I mean, there was this. It was remarked on at the time, the roar at full time, because they got that point and they knew that might be enough to stop Liverpool win the title, which in the end it was. That is a real hostile crowd for a Liverpool team to go to. So when you remove that, and it's more of a down to your two teams facing off, who's the best team. Liverpool are clearly the better side. So I think I'd go with Alex. I think Liverpool, they should win, and they should go there believing that they're going to win because they're better than them. It's a mistake that Liverpool made last season. They went to Old Trafford and they froze a little bit. They were better than Man United and they froze a little bit, and they were better than Everton, and it was the same. Whereas listen, they're European champions. They're on the way to win the Premier League. I'd love to see them go and just blow them off the park. But as I said, it might just be a bit of ring rust as well.
That's it. As Chris said in the chat there, we've rarely played since the Mane goal, rarely played a strong 11 last season, and the season before we were other things on our mind.
1 year. I think Ings and Solanke played up front in 17-18, I think.
Yeah, so it's, hopefully, it's the only thing I'd say about the ring rust, and I'm sure every club could look at their videos of their lads training and think they looked amazing, but our lads do look fit and sharp and training, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one thing I'm hoping we'll come out and we'll, hit that ground running without the pressure of the crowd, which can be a big thing. So, lads, Chris's question, right? Christian Purslow, Tom Hicks, and Roy Hodgson, snog, marry, and avoid. So, Alex, I'll let you go first on it.
Fuck me. I mean, is Hicks the big fat one or the small fat one?
I think he was the big fan.
Yeah.
Gillette was the one with the glasses, wasn't he?
Okay,
That's
so
right, yeah.
I mean, Perslow's at Villa now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I saw him on TV earlier.
Looks all right in this too.
He's looking suave, to be fair. So he'd get the peck, but then, fucking hell. I mean, if it was like punch and elbow to the face, then Hicks would get the punch and Hodgson would get the elbow. But oh my Christ.
See, it's hard because Roy. I wouldn't like to be in Roy's company for too long, but Hicks must have more money, so you're a trophy husband then at that stage.
Marry Hicks and Roy Hodgson's getting avoided.
Yeah, Anthony, what about you?
It's not Christian Purslow, I'll say, and I think I'll marry Roy because it's kind of, you'd have a safe life with Roy. It'd be a marriage where you sleep in different rooms.
Yeah, and, true.
Just keep to yourself and avoid Tom Hicks.
Yeah, it can be a bit overbearing, I suppose.
Yeah.
When you think about it, you don't want to be stuck with him all the time either. Yeah. So that's it. And now, lads, throw it in there for us before we go. Before we move on as well, I just want to let everyone know, we're going to start doing shows on Hotmic over the next few weeks. So anyone that's listening to us, if you can go over to Hotmic and just sign up, it only takes about 30-40 seconds to sign up the Hotmic, but we'll be doing shows exclusively on Hotmic, and maybe trying to get a few competitions and the likes going on that. So if everyone could sign up the Hotmic and use the LFC DT, the invitation code there that goes across the bottom, just if anyone isn't on Hotmic, if they're interested in the shows, just sign up and you'll get notified when they're coming on, just like the YouTube ones as well. And they'll be, you won't miss another show basically, but some of them will just be exclusive to Hotmic. So if you're not signed up, you won't get them. So lads, we all see a Liverpool win in the derby for similar enough reasons: the better team and the lack of the crowd to give the crappier team that little lift that they do need. So are we all looking ahead again? Is it going to be done Palace or Anfield, do we think? Can we see any issues there? Or
if we win the Palace game, does that mean we still get the Guard of Honour at City?
Yeah, we'll win. If we win Palace, we'll win the league, isn't it?
Yeah. But does that mean the next game we get the Guard of Honour? Yeah. I mean, we'll win it. Yeah, we'll win it in the next two games. Yeah.
Ancelotti is a real cute manager, isn't he? So I think it could be a tough night on Sunday. I don't know, but all things being equal, Liverpool they should win the next two games, and that'll be nice to go to the Etihad and have the Guard of Honour and have like that virtual screen they have of all their fans.
Doing the countdown and all this.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
I don't know what we are going.
They should do the Guard of Honour in front of that screen just to get the reaction of their fans looking at the game.
No, that's it.
Why have to blur some of them out?
Kev puts an interesting question in the chat there as well. After tonight, you can see a lot of rotation from the off. Maybe we do have an advantage in that we'll see how these first sort of 3 match days nearly go before their game, and it might be Klopp might have a little eye on just freshening them up a bit quicker, because sometimes he does leave his subs a bit later or not make them at all, so it might be something that he will look to do, which could be interesting. So yeah, Guard of Honour at City would be nice, but to be honest, lads, we'll take our Guard of Honour anywhere. It's a shame we just can't parade the streets, but we'll get to that. We're hitting the hour now, lads. I won't take up any more of your time. I just want to thank you both for joining me tonight. I was hoping we'd have had something a bit more exciting to talk about. It didn't work out that way. Never really thought it would, but you never know. And the games maybe weren't as exciting as we hoped. But look, we'll be back on soon, and I'm sure the lads will be coming back on to join us. So, Alex, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Welcome, mate. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. And Anthony, first time on, won't be the last. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, it's great to be on. Thanks, Keith.
No worries at all. No worries at all. We've been the Fatback 4 Daily. That's been your show. Good night.